Trump est la liste Epstein, de la promesse à la réalité. Pendant sa campagne de 2024, Donald Trump a promis de déclassifier les documents de l'affaire Jeffrey Epstein avec l'espoir d'une liste de clients compromettante. Mais en 2025, il nous raconte que la liste n'existe pas, que ça n'a jamais existé. Comment est-ce possible? La liste était sur le bureau de Pam Bondi il y a quelques mois. En 2024, Trump promet de publier les documents Epstein, alimentant les théories du complot et l'attente d'une liste de clients haut placés. L'affaire Epstein, avec des liens à des personnalités comme Bill Clinton, le prince Andrew et Trump lui-même, a toujours fasciné le public américain pendant qu'en France, ça ne faisait pas la une des journaux, ou alors dans un petit pavé au milieu du journal. Trump nous a fait saliver en promettant la transparence, et on n'a rien eu. Et si Elon Musk avait raison? Donc nous allons regarder les vidéos d'avant l'élection présidentielle de Trump, et suivre un petit peu toute cette histoire.
I've lost a lot of trust in institutions, and I think there's been a lot of discussion, especially online and especially with young people. How do we rebuild that trust in institutions, the CIA, the FBI, all those institutions?
You're right.
Some people think that one way to build trust is to declassify things that everyone's talking about. I know you talked earlier about, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist. So if you were president, would you declassify, you can answer yes or no to these, would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
Would you,
I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world. But I think I would, or at least...
Do you think that would restore trust? Help restore trust?
Yeah, I don't know about Epstein so much as I do the others. Certainly about the way he died. It would be interesting to find out what happened there because that was a weird situation and the cameras didn't happen to be working, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I'd go a long way toward that one.
There's a moment where you had some hesitation about Epstein, releasing some of the documents on Epstein. Why the hesitation?
I don't think I mean, I'm not involved. I never went to his island, fortunately. But a lot of people did.
Why do you think so many smart, powerful people allowed him to get so close?
He was a good salesman. He was, was a hale and hearty type of guy. He had some nice assets that he'd throw around, like islands. But a lot of big people went to that island. But fortunately, I was not one of them.
It's just very strange for a lot of people that the list of clients that went to the island has not been made public.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Probably will be.
So if you're able to, you'll be...
Yeah, I'd certainly take a look at it. Now, Kennedy's interesting because it's so many years ago. They do that for danger, too, because, it endangers certain people, et cetera, et cetera. So Kennedy is very different from the Epstein thing. But yeah, I'd be inclined to do the Epstein. I'd have no problem with it.
What did you say to the DOJ about not giving you the transparency that everybody was promised? You know they have the files. Why don't you have them? Why aren't you making me beg to get you on the show as you're holding them up like this, saying, sorry, I got to go to everybody else first? Why aren't you getting them?
C'est le 23 février que Trump a décidé de déclassifier les dossiers Epstein, RFK, JFK et des dossiers bien croustillants. C'est là qu'il a collé la républicaine Paulina Luna, une fidèle du camp MAGA, à la tête d'un groupe de travail chargé de faire la lumière sur ses secrets fédéraux. Elle a annoncé le 11 février qu'elle pilotait ce groupe pour déclassifier les dossiers Epstein. Mais elle commence à être frustrée qu'on lui mette des bâtons dans les roues.
Going into talking about the Epstein files, etc. We sent letters to the Department of Justice. We have received that they have confirmation of those letters, but we haven't received dialogue. And my goal and objective is to not, try to attack Pam Bondi or roast Pam Bondi, but we have a investigation that we need to conduct. Obviously, we asked for some transparency on this topic. But the one thing I've been very frustrated with, Matt, is that I have tried very hard to obtain the Jeffrey Epstein files. I have been contacting the Department of Justice. I've even chased down the FBI, and I keep getting the same thing. We are reviewing documents. I don't believe that the process has been as good as the JFK rollout and the MLK and the RFK rollout will be. And so I'm going to continue to put pressure on the DOJ to release that information. Look, there's bad people that haven't been charged for doing really horrible things with underage people. And frankly,
has the DOJ given you any
Trump
timeline on that, Anna?
No. In fact, I haven't really gotten any communication from the DOJ. And frankly, Matt, what's also been frustrating is I actually sent inquiry following up with the DOJ on if they were going to prosecute the referrals for those sanctuary city mayors. And they said that they received receipt of our letter but didn't respond.
Extremely close.
What do you think about Jeffrey
Epstein was a CIA Mossad asset that was recruited and was doing a blackmail operation. They haven't released the entire list of close Epstein confidants, but Israel's former prime minister was one of them.
Barack?
Yes, they got a picture of him visiting Epstein at his New York apartment. And he was well connected to Epstein, but that was all in secret. That is the intelligence part of Mossad. And of course, they couldn't do that without coordinating with the CIA.
I ask this question now, the more I learn, there just always seems to be this connection between the CIA and the Mossad. The more you look back into history, and it's always somehow the CIA and the Mossad is there. On the day that JFK gets shot, we learn about like MLK, we learn about 9/11, and everyone's going, okay, why does it seem like there's a union here?
Mossad is like the sister of the CIA. They're joined at the hip, kind of like Siamese twins. They use each other for intel and operations and things like that. They are extremely close.
So this is the top dog.
Yep.
Is saying to a nanny in a restaurant something that no one knows. And to me, I'm like, well, that's an interesting story, is it not? So I do what I have to do. I reach out to the Attorney General's office for comment. I say, Pam Bondi, the Attorney General of the United States, was caught in a restaurant saying, and I actually wonder whether I should have done that. I probably did him a favor by giving them the exact quotes. And then a few days later, she says the exact same thing publicly that I emailed the Attorney General's office for comment saying, and played the clip of her at the White House. This is what she said.
Thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child porn.
Now, this is the first time an official has publicly acknowledged that videos of Epstein and his victims exist. What you may not know is just 9 days prior, the Attorney General had a very similar conversation with a total stranger in a restaurant.
Do you know when the Epstein files are going to get released?
We hope soon. FBI's been...
Okay.
So...
Any dates?
No, you know what it is? There are tons and thousands of videos.
Yeah.
And it's all with little kids. So they have to go through every one.
Pause. So it's interesting because she said it privately in a restaurant publicly in a restaurant, not privately. And to me, it's like, that's something. So I felt like I had to publish this. Now, if she hadn't have gone publicly and said this, and I had released this clip in the restaurant, it would have been a much, much, much bigger deal.
On to the breaking news overnight about the Jeffrey Epstein files and the conspiracy theories officially being rejected. Overnight, the FBI and Justice Department releasing 11 hours of footage they say helps confirm notorious financier Jeffrey Epstein died by suicide in his Manhattan jail cell in 2019.
Ce qu'il ne dit pas ici, c'est que son confrère sur CNN a lâché, c'est qu'il y a une minute qui manque dans les enregistrements de la vidéo entre 11h58 et 58 secondes et minuit.
Awaiting his sex trafficking trial. According to a memo detailing the findings, investigators found the video showed no one entering the area in the overnight hours before Epstein was found unresponsive. But perhaps the biggest bombshell, investigators say they found no incriminating client list of Epstein's, no credible evidence that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals, and no evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties. For years, Epstein has been at the center of conspiracies surrounding both his death and a rumored client list allegedly used to blackmail powerful men. And just last month, while feuding with President Trump, Elon Musk posting, "Time to drop the really big bomb. At real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, Donald J. Trump." But Musk later deleted that post and others, saying he went too far in attacking Trump. The president saying he cut ties with Epstein nearly 2 decades ago, saying even Epstein's lawyer cleared him. This is the first time the Trump administration has officially contradicted conspiracy theories about Epstein, theories previously pushed by members of the administration.
Let's show it. It shows no one entered the area surrounding Epstein's cell in the hours before he died. But there's something significant about this videotape. What is it?
Well, here's one thing that some people on the internet are picking up on, which is that there is about a minute missing between 11:58 p.m. 58 seconds and 12 a.m. the night that Epstein was apparently killed. or died. And so
the official story is that he died by suicide. That's
Correct.
what then Trump Attorney General Bill Barr said a few years ago.
Died. And so now there are, it's going to intensify more conspiracy theories about what happened the night of Epstein's death. And of course, you have the DOJ and FBI now, which are trying to extinguish a lot of these conspiracy theories.
Caroline, the DOJ and FBI have now concluded there was no Jeffrey Epstein client list. What do you tell MAGA supporters who say they want anyone involved in Jeffrey Epstein's alleged crimes to be held accountable?
This administration wants anyone who has ever committed a crime to be held accountable, and I would argue this administration has done more to lock up bad guys than certainly the previous administration. And the Trump administration is committed to truth and to transparency. That's why the Attorney General and the FBI Director pledged at the President's direction to do an exhaustive review of all of the files related to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes and his death. And they put out a memo in conclusion of that review. There was material they did not release because, frankly, it was incredibly graphic and it contained child pornography, which is not something that's appropriate for public consumption. But they committed to an exhaustive investigation. That's what they did, and they provided the results of that. That's transparency.
So the FBI looks at the circumstances surrounding the death of Jeffrey Epstein. According to the report, this systematic review revealed no incriminating client list. So what happened to the Epstein client list that the Attorney General said she had on her desk?
Well, I think if you go back and look at what the Attorney General said in that interview, which was on your network on Fox News. Go ahead.
John Roberts said, DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen? And she said, it's sitting on my desk right now to review.
Yes, she was saying the entirety of all of the paperwork, all of the paper in relation to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. That's what the Attorney General was referring to, and I'll let her speak for that. But again, when it comes to the FBI and the Department of Justice, they are more than committed to ensuring that bad people are put behind bars.
La procureure générale Pam Bondi avait précédemment affirmé en février qu'elle avait les documents Epstein posés sur son bureau, prêts à être examinés. Bien que le directeur du FBI, Kash Patel, et le directeur adjoint Dan Bongino aient parlé de l'existence des dossiers Epstein avant leur prestation de serment, la récente note a réfuté ces théories.
I'm Christine Frizzau in Washington. Tonight, the apparent end to a story many did not expect. The Department of Justice and FBI in a new memo states, after an exhaustive review into the case of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, they've found no evidence of blackmail, no client list, and nothing suspicious about his death. But some simply aren't buying it.
On what really happened with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, it's been political theater from day one. In February, conservative influencers given, quote, unclassified binders on the matter at the White House, which mostly contained information already made public. Now the Department of Justice says the curtain has closed, despite this revelation earlier this year.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients? Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review.
Now, Attorney General Pam Bondi's Justice Department says there was no incriminating client list. A new memo states there was also no credible evidence found that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals as part of his actions. Also, that Epstein did indeed commit suicide in his jail cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York on August 10, 2019, echoing other recent statements from the FBI.
You know a suicide when you see one, and that's what that was.
He killed himself. Good. Folks, you're going to see a lot of names on that. The Epstein client list, I believe, based on what I've heard from sources and the story I just told you, basically, it's going to rock the political world. There's a reason they're hiding it.
No shit. So let me tell you, I know for a fact documents are being suppressed. And they're being suppressed to protect individuals. I know the names of the individuals. I know why they're being suppressed. I know who's suppressing them. But I'm bound by confidentiality from a judge and cases, and I can't disclose what I know. But I hand to God, I know the names of people whose files are being suppressed in order to protect them. And that's wrong.
Just out of curiosity, without names, are these politicians, business leaders, both?
They're everything. And let me tell you, a lot of them are At least one of them is somebody who was accused. Others are accusers. And the judges have said, if somebody calls themselves a victim, we're not going to give any information about them. But they may not be victims. They may be perpetrators. So we don't have information about false accusers. And we know there have been many false accusers who have accused innocent people for money. And those records are being deliberately, willfully suppressed. And they shouldn't be suppressed. If the accusation is allowed out, so should the material that diminishes the credibility of the accuser. We want total transparency on this. Every single document, no redaction. That's what I've said from day one. I waive any of my rights of privacy. Anything there is about me, I'm happy because it will be exculpatory, because I know I haven't touched a woman other than my wife from the day I met Jeffrey Epstein. I don't even hug people, but I was falsely accused and I was able to prove it. And I was able to prove it through documents. And I want other people to be able to disprove false accusations through documents. But these documents are being suppressed and withheld.
He did work for an intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did? And also, could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the night of the set?
Yeah, sure. If
Hey, Pam, could I just interrupt for 1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein?
Please disperse. Nothing to see here, please.
Every year, every night, they redo that video. It's old, from like 1999. And the minute missing from the video, we released the video showing definitively the video was not conclusive, but the evidence prior to it was showing he committed suicide. And what was on that, there was a minute that was off the counter. And what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every year, every night, they redo that video. It's old, from like 1999. So every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing. So we're looking for that video to release that as well, showing that a minute is missing every night. And that's it on Epstein.
Et pendant ce temps, Ghislaine Maxwell est en prison pour 20 ans, accusée d'avoir trafiqué des enfants avec Epstein. Mais maintenant que le gouvernement a déclaré qu'il n'y avait aucune liste et qu'il n'y avait aucun inculpé, pourquoi devrait-elle rester en prison? Qu'est-ce que vous en pensez? Merci d'avoir suivi cette vidéo et on se dit à la prochaine fois. Au revoir.